Big cats have fascinated mankind since the dawn of time. These fearsome predators that haunt our collective imagination appeared 2 million years ago. Our ancestors, prehistoric hunters and gatherers, watched them very closely. They must have viewed these big cats as the ultimate hunters, a model that was no doubt admired and certainly feared. Because, as opposed to man, it is perfectly adapted to its environment. Agile and fast, a big cat can hunt and kill alone. It doesn't need any weapons to slay its prey. Its claws and teeth are extraordinarily effective. Our ancestors, who could not equal their power and were sometimes prey themselves, conferred supernatural powers on the big cats. Gods or demons, sometimes half-human creatures, their mystery is at the very roots of our beliefs. The Phalwang Batua Temple in Thailand accommodates some unusual guests, tigers. According to legend, one day when Buddha was meditating, a starving tiger came up to him. In goodwill, he offered the tiger his thigh, then his arm. The tiger was saved. Are the monks of this temple following the example of the great Buddha?
After studying economics in London, I was diagnosed with cancer. I was miraculously healed and then became a monk. And I started this monastery to meditate in the heart of the forest. In 1994, I saw a wild tiger around here. Soon after, I found it poisoned. I saw this as a sign. I had to protect the tigers as well as other wild and domestic animals. In 1999, I rescued my very first young tiger. I have about a dozen now, including the 4 cubs born this year. They live with me in the house and on the terrace. They thrive on the attention I give them. I take care of them as naturally as if I've done this my entire life.
Yes, the monks do in fact follow the example of Buddha. They believe that if tigers are to be saved from extinction, they must relinquish their predatory natures. So in the monastery, the cats are raised according to Buddhist principles without any violence or any form of aggression. The monks are convinced that the food the tigers eat conditions their behavior. The cubs are fed like babies and always by hand to establish a friendly contact. The grown tigers devour boiled meat and even dry dog food. There's no scent of blood in their menu. It's designed to soothe them so they forget their hunting nature. To prevail over the extreme violence of the tigers, the monks try to channel their energy. They encourage them to give up their wild sides and listen to the men. The monks also combat the natural aggression of the tigers as a way of purifying the karma of the souls of humans that have been reincarnated in these animals. In keeping with the principles of Buddhist compassion, they teach the tigers in the hope that their next reincarnation will be more peaceful, especially when it concerns their old friends, whom they say they recognize among the tigers. The men strive to maintain a peaceful cohabitation among the various animals living within the monastery. It's not easy. As tigers grow up, their basic instincts soon come to the fore. When angry, the animal can attack at any moment. Yet the men are not afraid. They know the personalities of each and every tiger and what it takes to pacify them.
We can be reincarnated as a tiger, elephant, dog, cat, bird, and any living creature. I'm convinced that some of the tigers in the monastery are old friends. Great monks who were not able to overcome their anger and who were reincarnated as tigers.
Calming the anger of human souls, the mission is dangerous when facing these big cats. The lion is the most famous of the big cats. Its reputation comes from the immense territory it conquered with its claws and teeth. Today, Africa is its last refuge. On the border between Kenya and Tanzania, it shares its land with the Masai. The entire wealth of this group of nomadic shepherds resides in their cattle, which they must defend against the appetite of the big cats. Here, competition between man and lion remains fierce. Just 8 years old, Orio is already a hero among his people. Because this young shepherd survived a lion attack.
The attack was vicious. The lion mauled him with an unbelievable violence. Look, he has the scars of bites and claws all over his body. It's amazing he's still alive. A miracle. And he wasn't even scared. It's true, I didn't have time to be scared.
Everyone admires and is proud of this young boy.
Yeah, he was big.
His wounds are all proof of his bravery. The Masai have always hunted lions, though they have never tried to exterminate them, as they are sacred animals. The lion is a symbol of the earth's fertility, and it ensures the survival of their cattle. Orio stood up to the big cat. He will become a great warrior. In the meantime, he watches enviously as his elders, the Moran, leave for the hunt. They stay together, as they could encounter their terrifying rival at any time. But they're not frightened. They've prepared themselves for this moment from earliest childhood. Lions have killed some of their friends and family, and they all know by heart the victorious tales of brave fighters who stood up to a lion. Not so long ago, a young Masai had to kill a lion during an initiatory ceremony to become a man. If he was successful, they celebrated the passage to adulthood with song and dance. But lions are protected now. The Moran are no longer allowed to hunt the king of the animals. And yet the lion manes adorning the heads of certain warriors seem to be fairly recent. In the Masai culture, this headdress means that the wearer has killed the great beast. This is clear proof that confrontations still occur.
We don't have a choice. We have to defend ourselves and protect our herds. Our survival and that of our children depend on it, so we kill lions.
Even though this beast represents a real danger, the words of Urga, the village sorcerer, sound like an excuse. For his people, fighting the lion is less a vital necessity than a cultural tradition. Urga therefore regularly concocts a precious potion for the hunters. This potion gives the Moran the courage and strength they need to fight the king of the animals. In the Sundarbans mangrove forest, the confrontation between man and beast has existed since ancient times. Yet the animal seems to hold the advantage in this inhospitable environment. Here, the tiger imposes his law. Even when they're fishing for otter, the men never forget the dreadful danger it represents. They don't feel safe, even in the middle of the river. They know that a tiger can easily swim at night to devour the occupants of a boat. Banabibi, the goddess of the forest, chose this beast as her steed for its strength and extraordinary agility. In India, the tiger is a protected species. But when one of them has killed too many people, the authorities decide regretfully to eliminate it. The remains of the Lord are put on display, accompanied by an enormous outpouring of popular fervor. Everyone touches it, hoping to absorb some of its strength and its supernatural powers. The tiger is extremely important in the imagination of this people. Many dances and events are held in its honor. In the Sundarbans, this big cat reigns supreme over its realm. The men have only a single recourse to escape its attacks, pray to the goddess Banabibi, whose story is told in every village. Banabibi, a Muslim princess raised by the wild animals of the forest, became the mother goddess of all the creatures in the region, which was not to the liking of the Hindu god Daksin Ray, who had been the undisputed master of the forest up to then. He sent his mother to fight Banabibi, but the princess won instead. Since then, the goddess has the power to save any creature in the forest from the claws of the fearsome Daksin Ray, incarnated as a tiger. Today, the men are preparing to enter the forest to gather honey. They are organizing a puja, a ceremony for the gods of the forest. Prayer is their only refuge, their only protection against the dangerous predator. Adir, the shaman, starts the incantations under the worried gaze of Girindra, one of the honey gatherers.
Suddenly, the tiger leapt on my uncle and carried him off. I screamed. So we all rushed at him. We followed him for a very long time. Then we found the body of my uncle, who was lying in the mud. The tiger was just a few meters ahead of us. He was taunting us.
This jar contains sacred water from the Ganges. Placed in the bow of the boat, it accompanies the men and protects them throughout their expedition. To reassure each other, the men enter the forest in groups. From this point on, their lives are in the hands of the goddess Banabibi. Sundarbans means beautiful forest. This seemingly peaceful but remote natural reserve is home to some 200 tigers. For them, man has become a prey like any other. One of the gatherers has spotted a hive. It's time to draw up alongside the riverbank. The men penetrate into the depths of the forest and soon enter the realm of the tiger. The honey gatherers sometimes walk a long time before reaching a hive. This difficulty increases their vulnerability. Fewer and fewer men are willing to venture into the forest. The tiger is such a fearsome danger. Adir, the shaman, senses the presence of the tiger. Everyone yells to frighten it off. The men are tense. They keep repeating the prayers for protection. Girindra has found the tree. The goddess Banabibi is watching over them. The men use torches fashioned from the leaves of the tiger palm, the bulan, to smoke out the bees and protect themselves from bee stings. The honey harvest is excellent. The men of the Sundarbans thank the gods profusely. That evening, Girindra and the shaman Adir describe a trick developed a few years ago. The tiger only attacks from the back, so some men suggested they wear a mask on the back of their heads. The honey-gatherers tested the idea, which worked at first. For a while, they could wander in the forest without being attacked. Unfortunately, the tiger quickly figured out the ruse. And now, they only have one recourse: to intensify their prayers to the gods of the forest, or trust in the shaman's magical powers. In the village, the women gather for prayers, as they do every morning. They beseech the goddess Banabibi to return their companions unharmed with their precious nectar. None of them has ever gone into the forest, and yet they know the tiger is not far. This year alone, it has already killed 7 of their companions. Once the harvest is finished, the honey-gatherers hold a ceremony in honor of the goddess in the bow of the boat. They thank Banabibi for keeping the tiger away. But for how long? These men may have gone into the forest for the last time. In the Sundarbans, the tiger is gradually big cats were already revered in the earliest civilizations. In ancient Egypt, Sekhmet, the goddess of anger and war, was represented with the head of a lion, a symbol of her cruelty toward mankind. But she was more than just a goddess with devastating power. She also played a role in the magic rituals of death and rebirth. She drank the blood of consenting victims, dried their bodies, then dissolved them so that she could bring them back to life. As the keeper of the blood of life, Sekhmet had another face, that of the gentle and sensual Bastet, goddess of joy and fertility. She was also represented as a feline, but tamed with the head of a cat. Love and hate were personified by the same god. This was a perfect illustration of the ambiguous aspect of love as both a creative and destructive force. While the lioness symbolized a major deity in ancient Egypt, the lion personified royal power and authority. Only the pharaoh was allowed to hunt lions. At his death, the sovereign was represented by an imposing statue, the Sphinx, a man's head placed on a lion's body, as if to demonstrate that the king of men and the king of animals shared the same power. The power of the lion in our collective imagination has not diminished over the centuries. During the Republic of Venice, it was the city-state's most valuable possession. It was the symbol of their city, their patron saint. The lion was omnipresent on bridges, on churches, and in city squares. But its function was not merely decorative. Its head, placed on palace facades, symbolized the power of the great Venetian families. It alone embodied strength, domination, honesty, the sun, and fire. In the Piazza San Marco, the city's oldest lion illustrates the veneration it inspired in other cultures. The mystery of its origins remains. It may be Persian or Chinese. The emblematic wings of Venice were added later. The Venetians placed this lion, a symbol of domination and protection, on all the islands conquered by the Republic. They were nicknamed the Lion Planters. The winged lion on the Basilica of San Marco carries a message of peace for the West, which became the city's motto. May peace be with you, Mark, my evangelist. It's not surprising to find the famous Lion of San Marco atop the Doge's palace. But facing it, the powerful Doge of Venice is portrayed in a modest stance. The position of the man on bended knee facing the lion is extremely significant. It means that the temporal power represented by the Doge must be subordinate to the rules of spiritual power as embodied by the lion. Peace can only reign if politics and the sacred are in harmony. Requiring submission on the part of the temporal powers prevents it from slipping into tyranny. The Republic of Venice is long gone. Yet the big cats continue to fascinate our Western societies. Today, men go to great lengths to film them at the closest possible range and to bring back a whiff of adventure and danger. Viewers watching these images can safely immerse themselves in their fascination for the strength and power of the predators. Here, the cat embodies untamed nature, free from human destruction. It represents an ecological ideal. For many Westerners, confronting the king of beasts without any weapon is a mere fantasy. But some, like Mike Penman, can't resist the desire to try.
Focused on me, definitely haven't gone to sleep. So what I'm going to do is sneak out this side of the car, keeping my body hidden behind the vehicle. Once I realize that they're completely relaxed with me outside the car, I'm going to get down on all fours and crawl towards them. And that should create some interest. And hopefully it's not too much interest.
Mike works as a guide in the Botswana National Park. His colleagues don't think he'll last long in the business if he keeps this up. Of the two lions that Mike dares to disturb, only one, the most courageous, accepts the challenge. The other one watches from a distance. Mike doesn't have any weapon as he faces the king of beasts, just an ordinary roll of toilet paper. If the lion attacks, he'll throw it at its head and hope it creates a short diversion so that he can make it back to his car. But he knows this ruse won't always work. By pitting himself against the lion and risking his life, Mike is evoking the initiatory rites of an earlier era. From time to time, the cat whips its tail around, a sign that he views Mike as a potential danger. He remains both threatening and defensive throughout the entire duel with the man. The second lion seems to have regained his courage. If he joins the first one, Mike will find himself alone against the two of them. Trapped, without any hope of escape, Mike is pushing the challenge beyond the limits. This time, Mike walks away from the confrontation unharmed. But what about next time? In an encounter with the king of beasts, fascination prevails over reason. 32,000 years ago, man already admired and venerated big cats. And even if their influence has evolved over the centuries, it remains forever imprinted in the deepest recesses of our imagination.